Growing up, my idea of a good husband and father wasn't something my dad ever sat me down and explained. He showed me. I learned it by watching him. My dad worked at Armco Steel in Middletown, Ohio for 35 years, talking days, afternoons, midnights, double shifts. If they needed somebody to work, Dad worked. I can still remember my mom and me taking him lunch to the fence outside of the plant when he decided to pull another shift. We'd swap lunch boxes, give him a hug through the fence, high-five him, and then he'd go back to work. Looking back, I remember my dad doing 4 things. He worked, he played golf, he rested, and he went to church. I also remember every promotion because those were like family celebrations. We'd always go out to dinner because Dad had worked hard to provide for us. So without anybody ever saying it to me, I began to define what being a man was. A man worked, a man provided, a man pays the bills, and I realized that a man's happiness comes from being able to provide for the people he loves. However wrong or right that may be, that became my definition of what it meant to be a good husband and a good father. Then I joined the Army. Once again, mentors, leaders, nobody pulled me aside and taught me how to be a husband or a father. The Army taught me how to be a soldier and a leader. And one of the things we always heard, and I'm even guilty of saying, is, I ain't your daddy. So once again, I was learning what manhood looked like simply by watching other men spend long hours, be responsible, sacrifice, and mission first. Then I became a father. Because I wasn't together with my son's mother and because our relationship was filled with conflict, the one consistent thing I knew I could do was provide every month, no matter what, provided him with child support. In my mind, that was one way I was able to show my son I loved him. Then one day, when Jalen, I think he was 17, we were talking and somehow child support came up. And he looked at me and said, Dad, I didn't know you paid child support. And for a moment, I just didn't know what to say because my heart fell out of my body. Because the one thing I thought I could depend on at a minimum was him understanding that I consistently provided for him. That's the one thing I believe I did that showed him I cared. And it wasn't even something he knew about. My son was not telling me that I had failed him as a father. He unknowingly showed me that the language I had been depending on for 17 years wasn't the language he had been receiving. That's when it hit me. Providing for a child isn't always the same as being present in that child's life. And that realization almost broke me because being a provider matters, and it always will, but being a provider is not enough. Welcome back. 4 titles, 1 truth. I'm Tommie.
And I'm Lance. Today's conversation is what happens when being a provider isn't enough. Let's get into it.
All right. So when you think back to the men who raised you, we're talking friends, we're talking uncles, we're talking everybody. Yeah. The men you watched growing up, what did they teach you about being a husband and father without ever saying a word? And how did that shape the man you became?
It's being there.
Yeah.
I mean, and that's just seeing my father and just provide, you know, because I knew that my father was paying the bills and he had to work to pay the bills. And if that was doing his regular day, you know, his job during the day, then he would, because he was an educator. So then he would, you know, be coaching or whatever. You know, that's when I was younger.
Right.
So, I mean, just watching my uncles, my friends, fathers who you can see them going to work,
Yeah.
every day, and
Long
then coming
hours.
in and then going out to the garage to have a beer, a drink,
Yeah.
or smoke a cigarette or whatever.
Get that work up off of
Yeah, I
them.
mean, but yeah, just watching the men that I would watch, and that's how we learned as a
Absolutely.
kid, because nobody came and would sit us down and say, "Look, this is what you need to do."
Step one.
Yeah, this the playbook. We didn't get the playbook like that, but just watching as a kid, you're just like, "Oh, Dad, he's going to work. He's leaving at
Yeah. Like
5 o'clock in
clockwork.
the morning. Yeah, okay. Oh, he'll be back. He's back at this time. Oh, he's out cutting grass, or he's doing this, or he's bringing, whatever meal he's barbecuing. Or just the actions is what
Yeah.
the actions without knowing all of the context behind it. So.
Yeah. I mean, it's the same for me. I had my uncles, I had my grandfathers until they passed, and I had the biggest, of course, was my father. And yeah, shift work is a mother sucker, because it's going to take him away from the house either while we sleep or when I'm home from school or whatever. So, but like I said, there's 4 things that I knew my dad did. And all 4 of those things were directly related to the family. Mm-hmm. All right. Because he was going to work, and that was to provide. Mm-hmm. My dad was not a flashy guy, so he didn't have a bunch of different clothes. He didn't have 1,000 different suits. He had work boots. He had work clothes. He had relaxing clothes, and then he had golf stuff and church stuff, right? And so when he was home, the expectation is that he'd be asleep, unless he was working the regular day shift.
Right.
And then he'd have the the evenings open. And then he played golf, and playing golf was outside of watching sports on TV. That was the one thing that he did for himself, to hang out. But he brought me in that early, because he used to take me with him. I used to sort of caddy, because when I was too small to carry the bag, I used to just ride in a golf cart with him, and and he taught me through golfing or whatever. So that was time, you know what I'm saying? So that was an opportunity that I had, and then of course church. I told you he was in the Sunday school ministry. Used to drive the bus, and he was just very active in the church along with my mom. So. Yeah. But those were the things, and if my dad ever did anything outside of those 4 things, it was weird. Like, for instance, we go on vacation to go visit my family in Alabama or Kentucky or whatever. That was weird to me, because it broke the norm. I had him for 7 straight days or something, so it was a great,
why you here?
Thing.
What's going on?
Are we going to be okay with you being here?
Yeah.
But yeah, and my dad, he was never a sit down and lesson guy. He was a guy that would just say stuff off the cuff, and then years later I'd be like, oh, he'd always give nuggets, and then it was like he would give me the opportunity to hear them. Right. And grow from, instead of having long conversations, because that was not the way men were back then.
Right.
On
it's
average,
different. I mean, my father. You say that. I was just thinking, it's like my father I would learn. He would let me learn. He would let me experience the pain, and then bring it up to, you're not supposed to do that, or I'm doing this, you're going to get this butt whooping, because you can't be embarrassing my name. And doing, so it was like, okay. So I learned a lot of what not to do and what to do, and the
quick hits.
Yeah,
instead of the long
think about what I was doing prior to. So.
And like we were saying, though, that automatically, in my mind, and I guess in your mind too, that started laying the foundation of what a man was. Yeah. And so even before I had my son and before marriage, the years I was in the military, that's what I tried to do. I tried to work hard. I tried to establish myself, as a responsible and capable person. And but the thing is, I didn't have those responsibilities early on of a family,
Right.
a child, and a wife. And so my hard work also came with just hanging out and just having a blast,
Well,
doing what you can.
You
Single
had your
man.
time.
Yeah,
Your
single man.
time was yours. So,
Exactly.
that's what was different in my situation is that my time wasn't, especially after we had kids.
Your time was
my time wasn't just my time, even though I wanted it to be.
Right.
I just want to sit down. I don't want to,
Yeah.
Still had to be engaged with, and be there.
Yeah.
So.
And that was something I had to learn later. I absolutely cherished the being able to see my dad, because we know tons of people that didn't have two parents in the house.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? And I cannot begin to imagine if my father wasn't in the house, how I would have turned out. Because I do believe that him being around, I still went out and detached because I was a single man that had some money. But I do believe the life lessons and the visuals of seeing him, it's helped me now to start to, or it helped me as I got older to start to understand what right looks like and do better because I needed to be better.
What you said earlier was talking about it's that base. We got to see at least started building that base for us.
And we knew what right looked like.
And I think a lot of us, I know a lot of friends that didn't have a father or something in the house, that had good uncles. Yeah. That would show up for them.
That's the hope,
That's super important. Yeah, and that's what you hope that it's this uncle or grandfather
or remarry with a good guy.
A good friend of the family. Somebody that steps up to try to help at least build that peace.
Absolutely. So you know what it looks like.
Yep. All right, so looking back, were there seasons when the work became the easiest way to convince yourself you were taking care of your family, even while they were losing access to you?
I'm going to just be straight up. The hardest thing for me when it came to now I'm a father and now I'm married, the hardest thing for me was correcting the course.
Now, what do you mean by that?
Meaning the path I was on.
Okay.
And the nonchalant attitude about some things and the inability to be present because I got work on my mind and all that stuff. It took a while for me to, there was a huge learning curve. Right. And
because it was just you
for a long time.
For a little bit.
And so, and even when Jalen was born, it still was just me most of the time. You know what I'm saying? So I didn't get and I didn't take, because I'm not asking for apologies right now, or sympathy. I didn't get or take the time when Jalen was born before I got married, which was years later, but that didn't correct me on the course, you know what I'm saying? Because I still had conflict, I still had whatever, but the most reliable thing I had in my life was my job, you know what I'm saying? So that's where my energy went. Okay. When things got complicated between my little boy's mother and I went back to what was
comfortable.
Yeah, what was comfortable, what I could depend on, and what I knew I was good at. Because evidently I was horrible at this, well, that was my takeaway, you know what I'm saying? And even when we were having issues, whether it was her fault or my fault, it absolutely started to chip away about me and my ability to be a father, my confidence in being a father. And then it chipped away at my confidence. And this is not me knowing this at the moment. This is something that I realized years later, is that my confidence was shaken that I'd ever be a husband. And it's not something I dreamed about, but it was something that I was sitting there like, okay, evidently I can't make this thing work.
Father, husband confidence, because your professional work confidence was
it's skyrocketing.
Through the roof.
Yeah, man. And it was just, and so, and hopefully that, because of what you just said, explaining it, hopefully that'll make people understand how I was so different in those two environments. Because one, I'm flourishing in, and the other, I'm running in a brick wall. Afraid of?
Just, I mean, when you on the piece of long-term relationship, being a father, if you were going to do, I mean, because I can tell you, for me, I was married already, and we had been married for about 4 years before we had first child. So going into the marriage piece of, I knew I wanted to be married to this woman, but I was still afraid of, like, what am I doing? Yeah, well, that, and then when
you talking about while you were married?
Yeah, just that husband piece of it is like,
I
don't know. I mean, because it's like, it's different times, and it's like, and I knew in my head, it's like, I can't do this like how my
like your dad
father,
did,
because it's
did.
different. That's different, different situations.
Absolutely.
And then when I had, not me didn't have, but when Mackenzie was born, it was like, okay,
another.
Yeah, it's like, okay, I got this child. So but then I think I'm not going to speak for all men, but in our mind, when we have a child, then it's like, okay, I got to take care of them. So that monetary piece of, like, okay, that means I got to work harder.
Yeah.
I got to do more so I can bring more in to be able to provide, more and different, be able to get this child different situations. Better than what I grew up with, being able to get or whatever.
But the reality is, I left high school, found my way in the Army, and spent like 8 years in the Army. And by that time, I was a staff sergeant. During that time, my son is born and is a couple years old. And when he was first born, I had lots of time with him. So I got to get used to him and familiar with him. But after a couple years, I started to realize that every time I was away from him, it was a game that was being played. And that game was exhausting. And that game was frustrating. And in my mind, I just I didn't know how to react to it, because I'm like, this is freaking, it just got me all over the place, right? It's causing me to act outside of my nature, which could compromise my job, right? And so what I ended up doing was I started closing that off in my mind, you know what I'm saying? Because when he's with me, I've already said this, we were two peas in a pod. When he wasn't, eventually it started to be like, I just don't feel like going through this stuff no more. And I pray to God that he understands I'm trying. I pray to God that he understands that I'm getting this child support is being paid. I'm doing everything that I can, but I can't be overly anything, because the frustration is going to lead me to freaking going to jail because of violence, we would argue, you know what I'm saying?
Right, you and his mother.
Yeah, and whoever she was with or whatever, and I was, it took me forever to control my anger, right? And so I just lived all those years like that, and I'm telling you, my whole thing was, at least he's getting this money. At least I'm helping him out.
Right.
And then when he said that, and it was, like I said, it was just off the cuff. It was not a conversation about child support. Mm-hmm. It was just off the cuff. He's like, you pay child support?
I know you're doing it.
Yeah. And I was like, I didn't know what to say, man. I'm like, that's the one line I'm walking across the ravine on from cliff to cliff, because the bridge fell apart because I wasn't doing everything else. But I was able to somehow, like a trapeze artist, walk on this one line and still be okay. And when he said that unknowingly, he knocked me off. He knocked that rope out from under me, man.
That would be rough. Because then it'd be like, I guess if I was in that situation, I would think in my mind that he would be thinking like you just sometimes just here sometimes whenever you wanted to
so inconsistent,
not actually trying.
Did you really?
To contribute to
and then it's just like, and so
my well-being,
and then take that, and now years later, I meet Nikki, ran through the ringer, right? And it's not because of women. It's a combination of the two. You know what I'm saying? I know that I did mine enough, right?
It's the situation, man.
Yeah.
I mean, it has to be the situation. Like, I couldn't, I can't even say that I know how that piece feels just because of.
Yeah.
I mean, it was.
But you do know how when you start to find out you're good at work, mm-hmm. you do know that becomes a safe space.
It's easy.
That becomes
it's easy and it's
muscle memory. It's so
it's not. You don't have to put a lot of effort into it.
No.
You don't put as much effort into
Absolutely.
as when you leave that and you go home, and then you have to put others into consideration for things
because it's chaos. The Army is chaos, right?
Yeah, I mean, but you get used to it.
That's my
you
point.
learn and
That's
you get
my
used
point.
to it and you thrive.
Absolutely.
Off of
And then you become capable to adapt in that chaos.
Oh,
But then when you try to get into a relationship with me.
You're talking about a relationship.
Yeah.
I'm talking about, having a spouse.
Yeah.
And then having kids.
Yes.
That's a different thing because
a different kind of chaos.
Yeah, because that spouse has, especially if you have a spouse that's also working and doing. So then just like, okay, you got to take into consideration what they're doing, and then your kids. It's like because this is one thing we used to come up all the time is if somebody got sick, one of the kids got sick, or if somebody need to be picked up from daycare, and then it's like we looking at each other like, who you gonna do it? Can you do? And it's like, well, I got such and such. I was like, what makes your job more important than my job? So you go through that piece, but the big thing for me was just because I would leave work before everybody was up. I would be going to work. Yeah. And then come home, depending on which stage of my career I was at. If I was on call or any of those things, it's like when I would get home. I would get home at a decent time for the most part. Right. When I wasn't working, a night shift or doing that stuff. But then it was like when you got home, exactly what you're saying is like it was so just stuff going on that you just want to go sit down and just not talk to anybody.
Can't fix it.
Not do
you can't fix that stuff.
You can't do that. it's like and that was probably one of the hardest things for me that I wish I could have done better. Would have done. I think about it now. I can't go back. Can't change anything. Right. But it's like I could have done a better job of giving more of my time because I felt like I gave. Whenever anybody needed anything, especially my kids, if they needed anything, I'd be there. They need help with homework. They need this, whatever. They need to go to one of their activities that I would be there for it. But it's like I probably could have been shown probably a little more interest in some of those things that they were doing, you know. And it's just, I mean, but it's one of those things where it's like, he ain't doing anything about
quarterback.
it. How they doing it? Yeah.
Yes.
But
yeah.
I mean, that's a hard, that's a hard thing, especially when you want to get promoted.
Yeah.
You want to, you know, you're trying to make more money. You want to be able to want them to be able to go to the school or college or whatever that they want to. So it's a
struggle. It is. And then to not be able to, and not for me, it's like trying to fit a square peg into a freaking round hole, you know what I'm saying? And it's, and I'm fighting myself. I'm causing a lot of frustration in the situations because I'm so used to getting up and going whenever I want.
Your situation would be hard as hell just because you weren't in it every day.
Yes.
You know, and I was able, I mean, I learned, was able to adapt and able to get it down because I was in it every day. And it was either you going to learn this or you going to be out, you know, or this ain't what you want or this ain't what you know. You need to decide and then you need to make this work because I couldn't just say it's just me. Yeah. And I couldn't
but you also weren't, because of our two situations, you also was never really put in a situation to where you had to even have that thought. No. There were years when I was by myself.
Yeah. I guess that's the thing of being in it every day and I mean, it never came to my mind as like, you know, just
do I feel like doing this today?
No, I was like, I gotta do, you know, gotta do this, and then, you know, you had your hard moments, you had your frustrating moments with spouse, with kids, but
it's still tomorrow.
You just keep on going. You learn, you get older, and you keep on going.
So let me ask you this: since my situation is a little different, as we just explained, it's kind of hard for me to answer this question. So for you, thinking only of your children's high school years and below, and then you in the marriage, that time frame, do you remember consciously seeing you needing to self-correct? Because you say, for instance, because one thing, just like we talked about our fathers, one thing that you knew, you was going to go to work and you were always going to get a paycheck, right? Yep. So that's in my mind, that's 80% growing up. That's what a man did, right? So while you were living through from born to high school and the experiences you had married, can you recall moments where you consciously had to stop yourself and self-correct because maybe you were getting too caught up in work?
Oh yeah. Okay. I mean, it's being selfish because I had to learn not to be selfish, especially when
self-focused.
Self-focused.
It's easy to start out saying big picture, this is for my family. But once you're in the grind, yes, a better paycheck would help, but they don't really care if you full-bird curdle. You know what I'm saying? They don't even know. That's what I'm saying.
Like my kids still, I mean, they knew more of what my wife was doing and all of the big things and all of that. Then I'm like, I do good stuff. I do big stuff too, you know. But and they still like
don't really put the picture.
When I retired, I think that they were like, you know, when they saw the, you know, all of the people coming up and talking, and they were like,
still don't get it.
Well, shoot, maybe he did work every day or did something, but
mine still don't get it.
Yeah. So,
but you remember?
Yeah, I mean, just not be, especially I could tell you with my wife, it was not being selfish of like I knew that her, being more understanding of like her job, what she was doing, where she was at in her career,
and what required,
and it's like
required,
I don't, and knowing that, and my thing is like it would be I could go do whatever or stay or be part of this group or project. It was a nicety that would be like another little gem. Yeah. Be like, he did that too,
that.
But it wasn't something that was necessary.
Right.
So I learned,
you became to understand unconditional love.
I was the one I started, say understanding is like, this is what's needed for my family, for looking at the overall picture. Yeah. This is what I need to do for them. You know, this is what makes the most sense. That's going to keep us going in the direction that I want to be going in. Yeah. So that, and then with the kids, is just, the kids want you. They don't know what you do at work. They don't care what you do at work.
They don't care about the money you give them. They care about you.
They want you to come out and play with them. They want you to sit down and look at this whatever book with them. They want to tell you this story where you sit there like, okay. And what happened? And what else? All right. Is the end close? They want...
But you can't say that.
No,
you can't show on your face.
No, they want your time, and it's like just learning to
understand that, and be able to give them
their time. Give them their time that they want.
But so do spouses.
That's true. Yeah, it's. I think that's more now as that we get older and folks are.
Yeah.
I feel more now being retired, and I feel that piece of the love a little better just because it's like it's just the two of us.
Yeah.
Let's
Every
go.
day.
Because with the kids, it's like if you got younger kids that aren't in high school and stuff yet, every moment that you can give to them, give it to them. Because when they get to be those teenagers and stuff, they don't want to have nothing to do with you, know. And then they'll come back around, when by the time they just almost through with college, and then it's like, oh man, my parents do have some type of
my dad is
little
cool.
knowledge. Yeah, they are okay. So so folks, if you out there and you got younger, younger kids are in like, give them that time. Because it's things that they will absolutely remember, and and it's helping build that base that we were talking about earlier to be good young men or good young women, just to try to start teaching them those little things.
And quickly help them understand what's expected of them. All right, so if your wife and children describe those years that we just talked about, where their version of you matched the man you believed you were at the time?
Yeah, I would. For the most part, I would say. Because like I said, I was the one that, got to the point where it was like, okay, I'm picking folks up from school or like.
This is my role.
Doing it, I know your role. So I knew what my role was, and I was accepting of it. Yeah. And I knew that this is what, as when we start looking at the work piece, and it was like, okay, this is what I have to do. This is what I need to do. And it was like I would just be able to say, hey, I got to do, this is something I got to do. For what, whatever. And it was like, okay. And then trying to, getting that reciprocated back from my wife, where it's like, okay, this is what I need you to do now so that I can check my blocks off. So
that growth, was that something you came to on your own, or is that something that came to on a conversation?
It was a conversation.
Or years of conversation,
it's conversation, and then just, talk to my father. Call him my father and ask him, because I'm good for calling my father or uncle or something, and be like, hey, I got a question,
It is right. Was I right?
Yeah, does that sound right, or is that
I wish I had that, boy.
Yeah, am I being an asshole?
Oh, so, I wish I had that.
So, and
I'm envious of you for that.
Yeah,
and only because the uncles that I had, and the family that I had, and the, with the passing of my father, the uncles and cousins I had, they weren't in a space to be that for me because they were dealing with their own stuff. And so
it's that's rough.
Yeah. And so for me, because mine was so delayed, my delayed start, I don't think that's I've already answered the fact that my son had no idea that he was getting the one thing I thought he could give. And then with Nikki, our relationship, it hasn't, the valleys we had nothing to do with that. It was solely to do with me learning the lessons you've learned of understanding that it's not a race between me and her. And I should not be.
I ain't in competition.
100%. And I should not be trying to be, my goal. Yes, you're a perfect example of what I'm about to say. There are people who do things a way more right than the way I did things, right? And so I just had to learn and figure out through my own path, my own course, and that's rough, especially when it's delayed. Yeah, and once again, I'm not asking for any pats on the back, but learning that as a 40-some-year-old man instead of a 20-year-old man, or learning that when you don't have really trusted men that you can talk to and rely upon, because my marriage was decade after my dad passed, so and it's just I learned at a pace that I know Nikki wasn't happy with, right. But like I said 1,000 times in these podcasts, I'm just so thankful
she's happy now.
I'm so happy she stuck out.
She's there. You got her. What did your family need from you that success, money, or provisions could never replace?
My son needed me to fight harder. My son needed me to get the chips off my shoulder, stop being so much in my emotions, stop letting the conflict between his mother and I interfere with the time that I could have spent with him.
With him.
Yes, 100%.
Your relationship with him.
100%.
Yep.
When things aren't going well, that should have never stopped me from going and picking him up.
Right.
I should have never played the games. The mind games. I never should have saw myself in a position where I had to play games, time. Easy for me.
That's for me. I mean, it's time. Yeah, it's still time, because when you look at,
you can't replace it.
When you look at how much time you spend at work.
Oh my God!
Like you're spending. I'll tell you, I'm spending 10 to 12 hours at work.
Right. What time did you leave in the morning on average?
5 o'clock in the morning.
So 5 o'clock.
5:30. Yeah, right. Between 5:30, I was leaving.
Kids were asleep. Yep. And so when you get back home, what time was it?
I would get home about 4:30. Okay. Especially after I got up
to a certain level. Yeah,
got to a certain level. But when I was young, when they were younger and I was younger, I would be on call, or I was working an evening shift or a night shift, so it would be them to daycare, where that would be where I would drop them off, and I wouldn't see them till
the next day.
The next day or whatever. So it's time. I mean, it absolutely is time with my kids, just because that time goes so quick. People don't understand. Well, people do if you got kids. But I mean, that time, it goes so fast as far as them growing up to the point that now they're, when they're adults, and it's like,
and you miss it. It's not like you can. Time goes right, but they're not going to walk for the first time again.
No.
They're not going to speak for the first time again.
It's
They're
just
not
situations.
Yeah.
I mean,
so
different,
many.
Different conversations and things. I mean, because it's like we me and Audrey would talk about just things that our son would say. It'd be like, we need to be writing this down. It's like, we need to be writing this down, because it just be
wasn't no camera, wasn't no iPhone back there.
Be some crazy, but just
no,
thinking
man.
about the different. I mean, just
missed
having that in your mind. Was there any conversations that I missed that I didn't have?
I missed his first basketball game. I missed. I was there for his first walk. I was there for his first words. But when he started to get, we'll say, elementary. Mm-hmm. The second half was third grade and on. Yeah.
A lot of that personality and stuff.
I missed all that. Yeah, I did. All right. So for the man who realizes too late, that he was present in provisions but absent in presence, what hope would you give him about rebuilding what feels broken to him now?
Get a time to your, if it's your spouse, if it's your kids, just spend that time with them now. Absolutely. Talk to them now, or because you can't go back. Yeah. You can't go back with anything, but you can move forward. And I think a lot of kids, older kids, adults, whatever, they just want to see the effort. Yeah. They want to see the effort, and they want to, believe it or not, kids want to have a relationship with you. They want to be around you. That's important. As much as we think that we might have messed them up, or just spend time. Right. Because you'll be surprised, I think. Yeah. I don't really have too much more to say. It's just my perspective of time, because I agree with that, is that you can't make up, but you dang sure can make new. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? And you said it. What my number one thing was effort. Yep. All you have to do is show effort. And effort showing is time-consuming, and it's sometimes tough. It's definitely frustrating. Once again, witness here. But one thing I do know now is I can't stop trying. Oh. Yeah. No matter how bad or unsuccessful I feel I was back then, I'm never going to stop trying. It don't cost you nothing. No, what does it cost you? No, especially now I'm retired. Don't cost me nothing. You nothing. So. It's nothing. But yes, from a person who struggled in the relationships, not only with his family when he left to join the Army, and I'm talking about communication, and not only with his son when he was born, and not only with his current wife, communication and time, it was always spent on trying to be better, right? Yep. But the better wasn't with the family in mind and that big picture. It was, if I make this, then we're better. And like you said, nobody cares about that. They care about the time. You just think that people, if you're killing it at work and doing it, then you feel like that's how people are going to see you, or that's how your family or your kids people that are patting you on the back and helping you get promoted, and then getting you promoted or cheering for you. Your family, they're like, oh, okay, you got promoted. Okay. Can I get them Jordans? Yeah. A kid can never understand the drive you have for the success that you want until they become in the same scenario. Yep. And never understand it. And you can't throw that back at them, because they're going to be like, I didn't ask you to do that.
Lying. I just wanted you to be there. Mm-hmm. And then you're going to melt like I did.
Providing for a family matters. It always has. It always will. But provision was never meant to be the full expression of love. Because years from now, our families won't measure us by what we gave them financially. They'll remember how much of us they actually had. Our presence, our attention, our voice in the room, our willingness to be there when it wasn't convenient. So if this episode hits you today, don't just agree with it, act on it. Call your child, sit with your spouse, show up in the moments you used to outsource to work. Because the truth is simple. What our families needed most from us was never just what we could provide. It was us.
And like Lance said, if today's conversation spoke to you, we'd appreciate it if you'd subscribe, follow, and share this episode with someone who needs to hear it.
Please.
If you're watching on YouTube, leave us a comment. We'd love to hear your story.
Yep. So join us next time. And as always, brother, let's keep the conversation going.
Facts. Holla.